is this a message problem? All right, two kids sitting on a high-powered, cover. It's kind of a crazy thing here. It's a message is clear. What you do is you put your kids on the high-powered line. That's kind of crazy, but this is probably not so much a message problem, right? I mean, the message is fairly clear. So in communication, it's not always about the message, although we tend to kind of focus on the message, but it's about resources, it's about networking, it's about enforcement that really helps the message. This may just be about stupidity, I think. What about this? Is this about message? I know you've all seen these pictures. Well, it probably isn't about message. I mean, this person knows that the person digging in the trench and then having the rocks supported, he probably knows it's a hazard, but there's an issue of, I think, resources and networking. And somebody standing there telling him when this support may start to crack or something. I mean, there's a lot besides messaging when you talk about communication. And it was a lot easier for us as communicators when the system looked like this. We were the authority, providing information, getting some information back, but now the system sort of looks like this. So how do we function in a system where there is more than just the authority, more than where everyone is blogging, everybody is essentially doing messaging? How do we function as an organization? How do we function as communicators in a system that really looks like this now? I think a place to start to discuss this may be with the definition of social media. And I think as Gavin said earlier, social media really is marketing. That's a dirty word for us in the States, for the government to do marketing. Somehow that's, we're selling something. We disseminate, we don't market. We just disseminate information. Well, marketing's much more than just dissemination, but really social media is a form of marketing where we're using technology, and the key is networking. We're trying to get beyond dissemination of information to build networks where we can get things done that we need to know, that need to be done. So Microsoft did this report, I got a hold of it, it's very recent, and they ask a whole bunch of people like us, really, information workers is what they call them, in 32 countries, a little bit about what you think about social media. I think this was an interesting slide. Does using social tools increase productivity? Now, I think they were talking about social media inside of organizations. Now, on the left side of this is really China, Singapore, Korea, really thinking it's very productive to use social media. On the right side, look at France, where France is on this. Second to the last and tied almost with the Netherlands in terms of, well, social media we suspect it isn't very productive. Brazil sort of in the middle with an average of about 46%. So this is I think, the feeling, you can't say there's one form of social media. It really depends in terms of how you feel about it, what's your experience in using social media. But this is really a key finding of this Microsoft study. They said, do you use the social media tools mostly for communicating with colleagues, sharing and reviewing documents, and communicating with customers and clients? And only about 31% across the board said that we use it in promoting work-related issues. Now, you might say it's not so bad, 31%, because we do some customer service in this study. You could maybe count some of that in there. But there isn't unanimous support for social media. That's certainly, even among us, even among information workers. And I think security concerns are always an issue. We know that. But I also think there's this issue where people are blaming the fact that it's less productive. And we're seeing a little bit of a pushback now on social media tools. And of course, the old system, this is the system we've been using really for this meeting, right? I'm telling you the message, and you're listening there, and you're Hopefully you'll understand it. But really the way it's done now, the new way of, I think, looking at communication is building networks. Networks, whether that network is within an organization or better between global organizations, it's how we work together, you know, in across global lines, across national lines. And I think the report that we heard about the Wiki from EU is an effort, I think, to look and manage that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about other things that we may think about working globally better. It doesn't mean we can't have meetings like this. It doesn't mean that journal articles are particularly not helpful in terms of getting information out. That's not the point. The point is to integrate, I think, a good social media strategy with the traditional strategies that have worked, because fundamentally we know for sure the internet has basically fundamentally changed the way we shop, the way we connect, the way we share information globally. We know that that's happened. So how do we use that to our advantage? So a little bit about the 25 minutes I have left. I want to talk about Google. I want to talk about blogs, Twitter, and Wikipedia, and just basically mention Facebook, YouTube, and Flickr. There's just not enough time at this point. But I think it's important to talk about Google because, you know, what's happening in the information search area that we can use? I mean, how are people looking for information, and what is it with Google and Bing and Yahoo? What are they doing that we need to understand so that we can communicate better? And again, across global lines. You know, Google is the big dog. There's no question about it. It's the #1 search engine, certainly in Europe and in the US, not in China. They have their own search engine. But it basically works out of an algorithm system. Google has 365 factors, which they protect very carefully in terms of their algorithm of how they get things above the fold, as we say, you know, on your computer screen and not on page 17. It's important for us to understand how that works because it helps us get our information. We have products. We have products the same as business has products. We have guidelines. We have research. It's not that we don't have products. So I think we have to think about how people are getting to our products. And I think we have to understand a little bit about Google. I don't want to go through the statistic. It's just huge. You know, when you have 3 billion searches a day, I mean, you know, people are desperately looking for information across nationalities on Google. So, I like to use the British metro system a little bit to understand. All right, how does Google work? I think you probably all know this, but you know, they send out spiders basically to every website. Whether we like it or not, that's what happens. Every website is searched. That information is brought back to Google and organized. If you're not on the web, you're not going to have your information searched. It doesn't search LinkedIn, as far as we know, because it's password protected. But if you're in a public space and you're doing information, Google will find it eventually. They'll find it, they'll categorize it. But that's all fine and good. But is it helping us get our information to the top of the heap? This picture was amazing because I was at this facility. This is a server. This is just one server group. This one's in Oregon. There's one in Finland looks exactly like this, and it's freezing in this room. I mean, it's so cold in this room. You think you're in Alaska. I mean, there's so much heat generated by these servers. So they're bringing all this information in, they're putting them in servers, and they're organizing it by these algorithms. And that's important to understand. All right, that's fine. We may not like it, but that's the way people are finding information. So how do we use that to get our information to the top of the heap? So when I first came to NIOSH 13, 15 years ago, I typed in NIOSH into Google, and so this is a true story. And so help me, it came up and it said, "Do you mean OSHA?" What do you mean OSHA? You know, no, I mean NIOSH. You go to OSHA, you'll never find our stuff. You know, not only were we not on the web, people couldn't find what we were doing, it was sending people somewhere else where they would never find our information. So how did we attack this? We basically attacked it by understanding a little bit about how Google works and also through our social media activities. So now, I did this before we left. You know, this is the top page. You type in NIOSH and you get this, all right? You get our web page first, you get Wikipedia, Twitter, Flickr, and OSHA at the bottom. It makes me so happy to see OSHA at the bottom of the page. So what does this say? What does it say? The message here is very clear. Social media drives the Google algorithm, all right? They've admitted that much. They haven't told us how, but it drives it, and Wikipedia drives this algorithm. So it's something we should know. Now, it's great if people know to come to NIOSH, but people don't know who NIOSH is in the US. Most people know what OSHA is. They fear OSHA, so they know OSHA, but they don't know NIOSH. They don't know to come to us, for instance, for mine safety. You know, they'd go to MSHA, yet we have mine safety laboratories which provide information to MSHA. So suppose, let's look at the INRS site. You type, and this is on the US, actually on the US Google search. Well, that's pretty good, right? You're above the fold. You know, if people know to search for NIOSH and INRS, that's very good. But what about if they search for worker health? You know, I'm just interested in worker health. Will NIOSH come up? You know, can you get to our information? Yes, you can. And look at that. You know, the other organizations are public health organization. The Harvard School of Public Health is the fourth one down. We're at the top. But look at their Wikipedia site. See, our Wikipedia site, again, comes above the fold. People going to Wikipedia, going to the NIOSH site, in this case it's a total worker health site, they'll come to our site because our links are on this site. So even though it's another way to essentially drive people to your information. Or you look at nanotechnology safety, you type that in the US, and again, we come at the top. So for me, I want to know where we are with these, when I type this information I want to know where NIOSH is, because I want people to find our information. And if you put in healthcare worker safety, you know, whatever it is that you're searching for, you know, you can test it yourself. Where is your information coming up so people can find it? And here is one of probably the most important slide I have. 75% of users never scroll past the first page. Okay? So great, you've spent all this time and you're on page 3. You're dead. You're going to lose 75% of your audience. And how many times have you gone to page 3? When you searched on Google? Maybe page 2, maybe page 3, or maybe you redid what you asked for. So not only do we have to understand how Google provides information, we have to do it so that our information, your information, gets above the fold. If the Cochrane Foundation is going to get people to the interventions, when you search Cochrane Foundation, my guess is it'll come up. But what if you search for the topic that they've done the intervention on? Will it come to the top? That's something you'd want to know, I think, as a communication person. Because basically, if the bottom line is if the search engines can't find you, no one will find you, or very few people will find you. So the thing that makes our information so important is our content is king. We have great content in our institutes. I mean, the INRS has one of the premier animal study organizations for nanotechnology. I mean, it's beyond good. Okay, it's not like our information is, you know, it's gee whiz, I don't know. You know, it's peer-reviewed and it's good. But our message can't just go on our website. It has to be integrated into social media to make a real difference, and again, so people can find it. And it's not about liking, you know, oh, people like us. You know, you don't want people to like you. You want people to love you, all right? You want them to be ecstatic about your stuff. Not just like you, but love you and talk about you. And that's what networking is all about, and that's what social media provides. I'll give an example later when I get to Wikipedia. We worked on Wikipedia for 1.5 years and nothing. We seeded it. We seeded Wikipedia. We got no response to our website, or minimal response, and then all of a sudden an explosion of people coming from Wikipedia to the NIOSH website. I can't really explain it other than the networking effect. People began to see our information, they identified with NIOSH, they would look for safety information, then they would come to our website. I think just to start, a good place to start is a blog. I'll tell you this story, and I think you'll know why I'll tell you this story, is that in 2007, I went to the director and I said, look, we have so much content, we need to do a blog. And I think Ty used to refer, I know you don't know this story because you weren't there, but basically I have a visionary director. John Howard is the director. He is visionary in terms of the way he looks at social media and the way he looks at communication. So he said, that sounds like a good idea. You bring it to the leadership team. Meaning, you know, I was a part as the director of communication at NIOSH. I was a part of the team. So I went to the team at a meeting and I gave them the best prepared, good slides, data, and looked at our leadership group and nothing. You know, and then the negatives, then the negatives. People will bother us. You know, the scientists will hate it. It's extra work. People will complain. People in the Institute will air their complaints through the blog. We'll get all the nutcases coming to us, and we'll spend so much, oh, it went on, and I'm looking over at my boss, and he's just sitting there, right? And they're sawing off the limb, and I'm sitting on the limb, and he's just, yep, nothing, you know, and I'm going, geez, you're not going to have to save me here. We're going down the tube on this. We're not going to be able to do this. So nothing. Meeting's over. You know, my presentation's over. There's a break. John Howard comes up to me and he says, just do it. Okay? The point is, you have to have your leadership buy into it. However you do that, you're going to have to talk about value. And I don't think there's any other way about talking about value than talk about metrics or what data that we have. Now, the blog, again, I don't want to go through statistics, but basically, blogging is very important for us. One thing, again, Google engine searches blogs, okay? It does the same thing it does with your website. It's a driver to Google, which is a driver of your information. And bloggers are connected. They're very connected. So a blogger, and I think you heard an example of that. Somebody gave an example about other bloggers picking up information or bringing bloggers together that talk about occupational safety and health and have them understand what your site really does. So blogs are good, and scientists, believe it or not, they love to do these. I honestly did think there'd be a negative reaction, but this is their moment in the sun. They have an abstract. A blog is only 500 words. Just make that abstract readable. You know, make it understandable. You know, and if you don't, we have communication people that can help you, but it's your blog, and you're going to find people that really love your work. You're working on welding fumes, you're going to find people all over the world that are going to comment on the blog if they get to see it. This is a blog we did on body art, but the issue was bloodborne pathogens. We were trying to reach tattoo parlors. Okay? It's not a science audience. We were trying to reach an audience through a blog. People say, oh, they don't read this. We'll never get that. Well, we looked at the incoming information that we got from people because they can comment on the blog, and we got comments that we wouldn't normally get. We got one of them, I remember, it says, he just said, way to go, dude. You know, that's not a scientist. That's maybe somebody that we're trying to reach. You know, I didn't know this information. Thank you. This is great. I'm going, well, that's the idea. You know, we're trying to build that network. And again, it's a way to drive people to our website. Depending on what the blog is, it drives about 10% a month to our website. Okay? We could do more blogs. We just have a limit of resources. We do 2 a month. And I think it's one of those ways that we can get our information out and get people to comment on it. We also had another blog on trucking. It was about truckers, okay? And we got a lot of women that wrote in and answered to the blog and said, how come you didn't talk about women truckers? Okay, we didn't talk about women truckers. We don't have data on women truckers. Well, what does that say? You know, we need data on where are we going to find data? You know, it spurred us to look at that particular area, which we really hadn't looked at. We didn't think there were that many women truck drivers, and maybe there aren't. But there are a lot of different reasons, a lot of different areas, a lot of different concerns among women truck drivers, and we needed to find some databases, which we didn't have. So it was a great comment, but it created a lot of work, yes. Is it good? Yes. Is it really feedback? Yes. Is it engagement? Yes. Is it, people said, oh, we're going to have to answer questions. We're a public agency. We're going to have to answer questions? You know, that's ridiculous. Of course, you're taking the public's money. So yes, you're going to have to answer blog questions. And there's some trending, I think, that shows that people are looking at blogs for science information. This is a study that just compared newspapers. You know, it's small numbers again, but I think people are looking for science information. They tend to look at blogs more than they do newspapers, or tend to believe them more. They do help us engage, but again, they drive people to the website. They're very good for the algorithm, and they give us feedback, like the trucker story. So how do we measure it? This is the meat of my presentation, really. I want to make sure I have time to get through it. So what are we measuring? Well, we're measuring exposure, and we call that, all right, how many entries have we done in the blog? How many have we done, you know, in a particular, you know, time frame? And, you know, what's the change? We always look, this is month to month. These are the best figures I could get. Well, exposure is not necessarily engagement. It's the bottom of the rung, you know, exposed information. Engagement is the total comments and responses that we got. And again, you can see the difference. I want to know from month to month if we're getting more or less, depending on what the blog is, because I want to know what the most popular blogs is. Reach is, you know, we're reaching during this period more every month. It pretty much goes up every month unless the topic is really a dead topic and focuses maybe on a very, very specific area. But if we really wanted to measure impact, you know, we would have to do some of the studies that Yanni was talking about, and we will do them. They may not look like NIOSH studies because they're going to be like marketing studies in a way. I know that's going to be painful for our agency to think about doing anything like that. But it's sort of like, okay, you've been retweeting our information. What did you do with it? How did you use it? Tell us some stories about it. So I don't know whether you like Facebook or not. I don't have a Facebook page. My wife has one. I think one in the family is enough. You know, my wife's Italian. That explains it. So, you know, she's got an extended family. It works for her. I think Facebook works for the Institute. It works for NIOSH, 20,000 people that belong to our Facebook page, because it's another way to get information out, okay? It's another way to deliver information. It also feeds back information and feeds back people to the website, driving people back to our website, also helping the algorithm, the Google algorithm. Huge users of, I think this is out of date now, in the US anyway. This is the most liked Facebook photo. I just threw this in because I thought it was kind of cute, you know. This is the most liked Facebook city. There's a shocker, right? They did a little study, I guess. So, I mean, Facebook does have a lot of ways to kind of tailor your information. One of the new things that Facebook has implemented, just I think it's a month old, is called the Facebook Exchange. And it's a way that you can sort of, it's a little bit complicated, but basically they're looking at where you're searching for information, and then you will get a message to your Facebook account of where you can find more information. You can see what's happening there. They're selling your information probably outside. You can deconstruct from that. It's a choice, and I'm not sure that's something we would use, but we're going to certainly look at it. This is Brazil's most popular Facebook post. I put this in here because I thought it was very, this is, believe it or not, this is chocolate, right? This is the most popular Facebook post having to do with the chocolate bar. Looks reasonably good, actually. But the engagement rate, they're looking for engagement. Again, they don't want to just look for likes. They're looking beyond comments. They're looking about shares, but they're also, I don't know how this is computed. I tried to add up the total interactions divided by, it doesn't come out with this. But the concern is that we need to think about that in our social media. Whatever, we need to define what we mean by engagement. And does that mean downloading? But beyond downloading, does it mean use? And try to get a number. This is the exchange I was talking about. I want to move on to say this is what we're measuring right now. By the way, our dashboard, our social media dashboard is public knowledge, and you can come on our site. It's easy to find. It's kind of overdone right now because we're looking at a lot of variables. But again, exposures, we have 2 Facebook accounts. The reach, we reach about 15,000, it's now about 20,000. We have the HEGs, our health hazard evaluation, they have their own Facebook page, which is that you don't have to have one, you can have many Facebook. But again, if we want to know outcomes, we also want to know click-throughs to our website. Are we getting from our Facebook, are we getting every month, is it increasing? It is increasing every month. So it's not, and it doesn't seem to be dependent on particularly what we're putting up on Facebook. YouTube, this is a crazy, if you have children, they've probably seen this. It's about this Gangnam style video. You know, look at the downloads on that. That's incredible. So I'm going to ask a question. What is YouTube? What is it?
Entertainment.
Entertainment. What else? What is it?
Search engine. Search engine.
Search engine. It's a search engine. It's Google for videos because Google does not categorize videos. It doesn't search. Can't search. It'll take the you know, if there's a header on it, it'll sweep by that. But YouTube is a search engine. So if you have studies, if you have guidelines, you want to do a video, it can be a terrible video. You don't have to have something that's super high quality. Because when people want to know, they want to hear maybe the researcher talk about your nano research, you know, what animal studies you have. You just get a camera and you set it up, and you might have to do it a couple times, and you get it on YouTube because it's a search engine. They can find your information, and people use it. Some people, like my kids, use YouTube much more than they do Google. You know, I mean, they just do. So I ordered a bicycle, and it came in a box from Britain. Well, you know, I thought, how the hell am I going to, you know, the parts are all over the place. YouTube video, how to put your bike together, right? There it is. It was a part of the package. Go online, and it was some guy in a garage in Britain telling me how to put my bike together. And it was perfect for me. Take the bike out of the box, put the thing, you know, it was at that level. You know, somebody had figured this out. You know, YouTube just continues to rise. I mean, it's astronomical how important videos are. This is you know, we put a safe deck, how to be safe at, you know, at sea, because we have a lot of kids that work in the summer and get injured on boats. They go to Alaska to work on fishing boats. They think it's exotic, and it is, but it's also very dangerous, especially if you've never been on a boat. And we put this video up. So we put our safety videos up. But what's interesting about this is about 3 months after we had this video up, there's another video that came that looked exactly like our video, except instead of 10 minutes, it was 3 minutes. And that video was from the Coast Guard. Okay, our Coast Guard, because they'd taken our video and they thought, oh, it's too long. It's not. But we had a partner when we developed this video. And who was the partner? The Coast Guard. So what the message there, I mean, we understand the message. The message is you really have to get it down to the people that are going to use it, not the senior staff, the people that are actually on the ship, and they weren't going to wait 10 minutes to look at a video. So, you know, this sort of an evaluation that occurred. I would say that's engagement, and it may be impact. What do we measure? Look at the we don't have very many videos. I think we have 90 now. We just put up 8 videos, more videos, I think last month. So we have 90 videos, but it has huge reach when you consider the few that we have. We ought to have a lot more video. This is a big failing of us because we want to do, you know, the problem at NIOSH sometimes is the perfect is the enemy of the good, okay? It's got to be perfect or we can't do it. We like good for YouTube videos. You know, if our scientists are not, you know, able to be stars, it's fine. For the people that are concerned about what they do, it's not that important. So suppose you had a study. I would suggest here's a very important person. You might know who this is. And the head of INRS. Okay, and so you have your report, whether it's a European report or whether it's your report, and here comes a video explaining the significance of the report in 2 minutes. What have you done? You've created a Google algorithm that ties into 2 areas. But you might go further. You're going to do a blog. He doesn't have to do a blog, but somebody's going to do a blog about this great study that you've done because it's important to get it out. And then you might attach some photos to the blog or to YouTube or to Twitter. And therefore, you're covering this broad sweep that the Google does. And also, you're exposing your information to a whole different audiences. And I just want to talk about Wikipedia. I have a couple more minutes, I think, and I really want to hit Wikipedia because, and this in no way is what we've done in Wikipedia is criticizing the NIOSH wiki, which we're also trying to help with. We think it's a great idea. We thought about that as an idea about 5 years ago. We were going to call it Occupedia. Isn't that clever? Yeah, I thought that was a clever title. I came up with it. That's why I thought it was clever. But we couldn't afford it. We just could not afford to when we priced it out, we just didn't have the money to do it. I mean, it was as simple as that. So we looked at Wikipedia as an alternative, and we like the idea it's in many languages because, again, it solves this language issue. If it's done right, people will translate information. It's the 7th most popular site. And I think it's 6 now. I think it's moving up. It's a free online encyclopedia. And if you search for nanotechnology on Google, guess what? What comes up first is a Wikipedia site. So what does that sort of say to us? So if we were working globally and we wanted to share information together, couldn't we all kind of look at the Nano page and maybe do a health effects piece? And each one of us would put up what we are doing under that health effects. In other words, we'd be at the top of the pile. We'd collaborated globally. We can control the information, and then we have a way of people getting to the information. The only thing is you have to control it. You have to monitor it. But if we could work together in the global space, that can be done tomorrow, okay? And the cost is not a lot. It's time, it's resources, and some money, obviously. This is the traffic to Wikipedia in the last 30 days, the website, 80,000, okay? We don't get 80,000 to our website on nanotechnology, but we're on the Wikipedia nanotechnology site, and we can measure how many people come from Wikipedia to our website. So we can make a decision about whether that's a good thing to do, and we can do that with everything we put on Wikipedia, and we are seeding Wikipedia. 1,000 edits since we started this. And again, the first year and a half, nothing happened. We didn't get this traffic to our website. I don't really quite understand it, and then all of a sudden, this network effect, it really took hold. So when you compare it with the NIOSH website, we get 8 million visits per year. That's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty good in CDC. But Wikipedia gets 8 million an hour, all right? I mean, you know, my kids would call this, well, duh. You know, that's where well, Dad, you know, you're putting your information, well, duh. You know, that's, if people are searching on Wikipedia, wouldn't you want to put your information there? And CDC had a really problem with this. You know, they said, no, just put it on the CDC website. People don't know to come to CDC. They really don't. I'm sorry. It's a big ego block, you know, but they don't know to come to NIOSH. We'll put it on Wikipedia, and then we'll have them come to us because we'll put a link there. This just shows you what some of the differences are. We have the NIOSH homepage, obviously. We have a NIOSH wiki page. Everybody should. Every institute organization should have one. I think the Cochrane group has one, as I understand. Firefight. But when we start talking about firefight fatality page, our website compared to the Wikipedia site, ergonomics, look at that, the difference in the wiki article on Wikipedia and our ergonomics. So if we're not there where people are going for information, you can see how this goes. Personal protective equipment. We have a whole laboratory in personal protective equipment, but we have more hits on Wikipedia on that than we do having the laboratory have people come directly to the NIOSH website. But we have links that'll bring people from Wikipedia over to the website. So but the key for me about Wikipedia is this information. We produce a lot of very important but obscure information, like what kind of bolts are you using for roof bolting in mining? We've developed a new roof bolting system. Are people going to know to come to NIOSH about roof bolts in mines? Probably not. But they might go to Google, and it'll go to Wikipedia, and if we're on Wikipedia, it opens up this long tail, meaning the information that we only may have 300 hits a year on this information. But we've opened up a mechanism for the general public to get at that long tail of information. The short tail, when you think about iTunes, you know, iTunes makes their money by selling in the short tail. They want you to buy the latest Lady Gaga record for $1.25. Well, we have popular products that are also in the short tail, but we have a lot of products that are in the long tail. And rather than just advertising these products, we're using Wikipedia and Google to Wikipedia to our website to get people there. This just shows you that some traffic from Wikipedia is the predominant traffic. I just took a couple off the top. Most of these are chemicals, meaning we get most of our traffic to these chemicals, most, from Wikipedia. And the list is about 3 times as long, and it's mainly chemicals, really, that are in this area. And when I say Wikipedia edits, you can see this is just simply adding a link and some information to a particular Wikipedia impact in post-career life for football players, which is a popular issue now. So our study is on here, and we watch this site, but we get more downloads coming from Wikipedia, and it's simply a question of doing an edit and a short period of information. Global road safety for workers. We had a global road safety conference, and I said, wouldn't it be a great idea if we, after the conference was over, we created a Wikipedia site on global road safety, and we asked people to come and put their best practices on there. So after the meeting is over, you know, we're saying, we'll create the site, let's go, and then together, in a global atmosphere, we'll together put our best practices, and all of us, not just NIOSH, FIO, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, who participated early, we will manage it together. NIOSH is not going to manage this. We're going to do this in the community site. Well, this is the page, and this is the links. People did, New Zealand, Malaysia, Australia, sent us examples. But did they put it up on Wikipedia? No. They sent it to us. You put it up. You put it up on Wikipedia. Why is that? It's not the culture. It's not our culture. It's just not the culture yet. But that's what we're suggesting, really, is that we need to think this through, and I think nano may be the idea where we together try to see if we can't manage a very small piece as an example of how we could work together about health effects from nanotechnology, since it's a very weak part of the nano site. This is a good idea, but we should be able to do this independently and not rely on NIOSH necessarily putting it up. But it's part of what Thais said. How do you convince your researchers to do this? I mean, then how do you convince the institute director, well, maybe NIOSH ought to look at this. I don't know what exactly Wikipedia is or how safe it is. So how safe is it? Well, it's safe. And we have a watch list, which means that any change in Wikipedia sites that we've edited or put information on, any change, periods, commas, anybody makes a change on the page, we get an email. There's a change on the page. We can open the page and we can see where it is, okay? And who pays for that? Not us, Wikipedia. And they keep improving their software. They have blocking, they have banning, they have editing, they have page protection, against spamming. And we put something up recently and we got a big thing from the Wikipedia editors that said, this is commercialization, you're pushing, and we said, relax, we're a federal government agency, this is our research. Don't panic on this. We're not an industry trying to push something. So who are these people that come and look at our stuff and make these decisions? Who are these editors that kind of are the supreme editors of the Wikipedia. Who are these people? And I asked this question to one of the Wikipedia founders, and he said, well, they're people that like to do this. They're ex-librarians, they're retired teachers. People do crossword puzzles. This is what they do, and they're good, because I've done a site, and they're very good in the English part of it. They're very good editors. They don't know a lot about science, and that's what we're going to meet with the Wikipedia Foundation in April. I'm excited about this meeting, and we're going to say, okay, this is what we want to do. We have science, we want to put it up on Wikipedia. We don't want people messing with it, but we want to be a part of the system, but we don't want to keep having to answer these editors who don't know anything about science, but they know everything about editing. So we're going to try to work out a system to do it better, and we're taking NIH with us to see if they are also interested. This is just a rollover. This is the first page. I did this to see if I could actually do something on Wikipedia 5 years ago. It's just about rollover protection, tractor protection. But it also, after this was up about 3 months, there's this paragraph that comes on here. This is really a true story. Paragraph that comes on, and it has a whole paragraph on the painter Felician Rops. Okay? Did the person not read this page? Is this hello? This is about safety protection. So what I did was just move it to another site. I just took his stuff and I moved it to another page, created a page for him. He thanked me for it and said he hadn't read what was coming. So, there's a certain way that you're going to have to, if you're going to work in the public space, I think we have to be courteous about it and follow this, the right thing to do. Accuracy, I'm not going to go through this, but there's been plenty of studies of comparisons. Medscape, Drug Reference, Encyclopedia Britannica, practicing docs tend to use Wikipedia a lot. I think probably to keep up with their patients now, to understand what their patients are bringing into them. Laboratory observations. I think that a good summary is this summary, which I think is also wrong. It says the main conclusion that can be drawn from these studies are that the medical information on Wikipedia, this is just medical information on Wikipedia, is found in, not safety information, information is found in articles on many topics contain few factual errors, okay? Although the depth of the individual articles and ease of understanding need to be improved substantially. I take umbrance here with the depth of the articles. What we're doing in Wikipedia, remember, is we're giving them a paragraph of information that sends them to our website. We don't need to put the depth of information on Wikipedia. I think then if we start putting rels and pels on Wikipedia, we're going to be in serious trouble because they can be modified and you wouldn't notice it. But we can put a small paragraph and keep those rels and pels behind our firewall to protect it. And what do you think the reading level of Wikipedia is? What would you think? High, low? Low? What grade level? We usually use reading level as grades, meaning high school, first year of college, 13.9. That's 13 grades, that's second year of college. It's too high. It's too high. I would never have thought that, but it's way too high. So that's, in trying to put our information on Wikipedia, we need to think about writing down a little bit, because really the key information is behind our firewall. And here's what we measure: exposure. We keep up with how many links we put on Wikipedia, but look at that engagement. Look at the numbers. That's only 1 month, 25,000 people coming to our website from Wikipedia, and it increases every month. It's kind of scary in a way. I think that it is a huge deliverer of people to our information. It's our second most important driver to our website. First is OSHA, the second is Wikipedia, the third is Facebook. Twitter is down the list because of a problem with the way that Twitter sends information. It's hard to pick up. So basically our social media active, Facebook and Wikipedia and Twitter, are driving people to our website. They're getting people to our information. Just a little about Twitter, and I want to finish up here. But I feel sorry for this bird, you know. This is a sad thing. I mean, this bird has no followers, and he's on Twitter, and no followers, just lonely out there. Don't feel sorry for this bird. The reason you shouldn't feel sorry, this may be the safety director at IBM. He doesn't want any followers. He wants the information. Okay, he's going to sit back. We call these lurkers, right? These are lurkers. You know, we want interaction, but we've got lurkers, you know, people that never tweet. Okay, so, but that doesn't mean that they're not using or finding the people we love the most are the retweeters, obviously, because they like our information, they're sending it out. But that doesn't mean that this poor little bird, the people that don't tweet or have no followers are really not valuable. We don't know enough yet to make that decision. Look at the age range. I'm not even on this chart, you know. I'm way over, probably near the lampshade there is where, so, you know, but my kids are right there, and they really, you know, are very gifted in terms of social media. And I think that our new researchers, people like Thais that comes in, that really are able to understand what social media is and use the tools. So the average Twitter follower, the average Twitter user has 27 followers. NIOSH has 220,000 followers. Okay, this is very powerful. This is not by accident. We really worked on this to get it up there, and I think the Gulf oil spill helped us immeasurably to get followers because we were reporting it hour by hour, our cleanup efforts, really. And the great thing about Twitter, this is really very important, journalists follow Twitter. We get no more calls from journalists that don't say, I saw something on your blog, I saw something on Twitter, can you give me a story, I'm doing this story, can I interview your director, can I interview the scientist? Twitter drives your media, your real media. And it's very, very important that way. That was kind of a surprise to us. So if you send out a tweet and you have 750 followers, let's say, and we retweet it, we retweet your information because this is an important study that you've developed on nanotechnology or entrenching or construction or agriculture, but we think it's a significant study and we'll retweet it to our followers. That means you've probably reached 500,000 people. Now, how could that be? Well, it's because our followers, probably 10% of those will retweet the information on the average, depending on what it, and then the next group will retweet the information. So this is reach. It isn't use, it's reach. But we can't buy this kind of reach. When you can take a study and you can reach 500,000 people around the world, not just in US, globally, but we can take your information and also do this. You know, we could have been retweeting this meeting or tweeting this meeting and tweeting presentations and having 100,000 people outside the meeting. We wouldn't do that without asking you, but it's what we do at our meetings. And again, we have a lot of measurements here. We defined it into reach. Reach is increasing every month by about 1,000 to 4,000 a month. Our total exposure increases. But again, if we were going to do impact studies here, we do some of the studies that Yanni suggested. We really have to take a sample and say, what are you doing with the information? Tell us what you're doing with it, and how are you using it to help workers and employers. We're small but dedicated. I know this is not the soccer fans. This is some poor baseball stadium in Florida, I think, is where this is. We are a small, but we're very dedicated, I think. You know, we're dedicated to the work we do. There's no question about it. I think, though, the bottom line is for maximum impact, we have to take our studies, we have to think through the social media goals, link it with videos, use Facebook, use Wikipedia, use Twitter, use bloggers. It's a new world. It's not a journal article anymore. It'll drive people to our site because the bonus effect is it also drives people to through the Google algorithm. This is our dashboard. It's on our website. This is page 1. This just is channels and reach. We always watch that right column. Is it going up? Is it going down? What's the pluses and the minuses of all of our statistics? I'd ask you to look through this and provide us comments if any of this is helpful to develop your metrics. It's a work in progress. We're trying to do this by sector also, since we're organized by sector. Final 2 words, a couple of slides, is addiction to bright, shiny objects. Communicators are addicted to bright, shiny. I am addicted to bright, shiny objects. Anything that comes along, I want to try. Any electronic thing, I want to know what the newest thing is for this, the newest thing for that. And that is the problem, because the mother of all bright, shiny objects is Web 2.0. Somebody said, wouldn't it be great if there was a clearinghouse? We could say, gosh, this is really good for this, and this. It would be great, because the point, I think, is you have to, it's not just, well, we need to do social media. You need to figure out what your goals are, and then look at what's available to you. I particularly like Instagram. We're not using Instagram. I like Pinterest. We're not using Pinterest, particularly for women's issues in the United States. Pinterest is terrific. Women at work, why aren't we doing something? Maybe it's a human resource issue, but because set your goals first and then decide the social media tool. You need an algorithm inside of your own organization. It's not hard to do that, at least figure it out. This is part of your strategy. Thank you. I have my own Twitter site. Please join it's mainly communication people, and it's global, or become one of the 200,000 anointed that follow the NIOSH website. Thank you.